Today we are gathered, thanks to United West and Tom Trento, to pay homage to those men and women who are willing to leave their homes and once again do that which the Sons of Liberty set forth, is to protect the freedoms, the liberties, and this great democracy, this great constitutional republic called the United States of America. At the end of 2011, we closed the door on the service in Iraq, but that does not mean that they should be forgotten. We continue to fight on the battlefields in Afghanistan. We continue to have soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines that are deployed all over this great globe for one simple reason. Not just to protect our freedoms and liberties, but possibly to extend those freedoms and liberties that we enjoy to other people who have never had them. It is so important that you are gathered here today to remember those men and women, to remember truly why we have all of those liberties. Why do we have a Bill of Rights? Why do we have a Constitution? Why do we have the opportunities that this great nation affords us? Because there are those out there that stand on freedom's ramparts that say, sleep peacefully at night, because we will guard and protect you. So on this great day in January, remember those men and women at Lexington and Concord. Remember those men who stood at the Boston Tea Party. Remember the men and women throughout the history of the United States of America that have said one simple thing, that in whatever capacity we can, we will stand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And as I close, I want you to never forget that this is the land of the free, because it shall always be the home of the brave. May God continue to bless these United States of America. May God bless those warriors who have gone already to heaven's pearly gates, and those who continue to walk as a testimony to their bravery and their sacrifice. And that is what you all are gathered today in Tallahassee to remember. Thank you so much.
We ask that the thoughts and conversations today in this chamber will be pleasing in your sight. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Take care. To your front. Up. Step. 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 Go. Hold. Order your color. Step. 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 Hold.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
We have an amazing day set out for all of you here. I think this is the first event of its kind in the United States that's taken on the task of formally welcoming troops home, but then alerting America to the ongoing need to stand with these folks and to stand strong in a very, very dangerous age.
Before we get too far in the program, I want to thank the United West, Tom Trento and his team, for putting this program together today. Before we give him a round of applause, I just want to say, when I was first invited to speak, I said I will do everything I can to help promote the event and to get more folks on board. But once I saw that the roster build with these great names and these great speakers, I have to tell you I'm very honored to be here. And even though we have a timekeeper, I have 10 minutes, I will not use all of it because I want to sit down and really watch the rest of the program. But please welcome, please thank Tom Trento and United West for putting this together today. Today, as we take time to honor our returning soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines from the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, let us affirm them and their families to us and our nation that our heroes are not just those who have gone before us, they are standing before us. However, the extent of our deep appreciation should not stop with these men and women who have faithfully served our nation in uniform and their families. We must always be a people who preserve and express a profound gratitude and indebtedness to our Creator, Lord, and God, who gave us this nation and who continues to richly bless us in the abundance of His grace and mercy. Army Captain Chaplain Chuck Williams is actually getting ready to be deployed again. And in the midst of all of that, he appreciates what we're doing here today. He appreciates this great awakening that's going on in this country. And he offered this prayer, and I will close with this. If you'll pray with me. He says, Our Father, today we want to express our deepest gratitude to you for this nation and for the lives of the men and women who have served and died in its defense. But we also want to communicate to you our deepest gratefulness for your love and rich blessings that you have so abundantly poured out upon us and our nation. Even though we have neglected you and your word in so many ways, you can continue to demonstrate your faithfulness to care, provide, and protect us from so much of the evil that so prevails in this world.
The class and the character of our next speaker was transferred in the DNA to his son, who was one of the first warriors in this battle when he led a team on that airplane and said, "Let's roll." Please welcome David and Peggy Beamer, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed very, very much. This is a great place to be today. The opportunity that I have to say thank you, to salute and to celebrate the fact that veterans are home and they're here with us. I am kind of especially, I think, qualified to represent so many of you and share this celebration and thankfulness and honor and respect because I never served. I was never in the military. I'm not a veteran. But I am a great beneficiary of what all those men and women have done for me and mine and you and yours for a long, long time. She saw her husband, Todd, go off to work. Todd and others became citizen soldiers that morning because it was their experience to encounter up close and personal this new enemy. My dad came home from the Navy in World War II. My son Todd didn't. But once again, an enemy had attacked us in our homeland. Now, in response to that attack, many of our best and brightest, once again, they answered the call. Our liberty, our freedom, our choices, these are important things for us to keep. We're not going to allow anyone to transform our culture and our rule of law and take away those freedoms and those liberties. They answered the call. And as we now know and we celebrate today, many of them have come home and we salute them. We also know that many of them did not come home. And we know that so many of them came home bearing scars and injuries that'll be with them for the rest of their lives. Today it is certainly right and proper for us to thank, respect, honor, and express our profound appreciation for their service, sacrifice, and courage. We surely do celebrate their return and we salute them. But our war against this enemy who seeks to destroy us, change our culture, our rule of law, all that we know and hold dear, that war's not over. The enemy of the United States has not surrendered They signed no treaty. They certainly haven't acknowledged how many of them have been killed and defeated. This enemy, also known as Islamic fundamentalists, also known as extremely devout Muslims, is still at war with us, no matter our pronouncements about certain theaters of war being over. Tolerance, a T word that our enemy uses to silence us and to allow them to blatantly attack and try and supplant our Constitution. And they scream of bigotry and prejudice and tolerance. Well, there's a T word for it, folks. It's treason. It's not tolerance. Sharia law cannot coexist with our Constitution. Men and women of the military, especially, my heartfelt thanks to you for what you have done for me and mine and us. May the land of the free and the home of the brave never, ever become the land of the dependent and the home of the timid.
Please welcome one brave lady, Ann Lindholm.
Take you back to early spring of 2009 on a Saturday morning at about 9 o'clock. My 4 children and I are sitting downstairs in the living room, and I'm sitting at the desk by the window doing some work, when 2 black Lincoln Town cars pull up to the driveway. 2 black suits get out, they stand at the end of the drive, and they're holding a conversation. Now, considering that my husband's in special ops, they've been gone for approximately 7 weeks at this point. While they've been lucky for the past several years, things have changed a little bit during this deployment. The wives have already been notified at least 3 times of fatalities, soldiers that were killed in action in combat. Being the wife of a special operations soldier, we don't get normally a uniformed officer to show up at the door. So, watching this event unfold outside, I began talking to God, asking God to give me some strength, give me some courage, because I have my 4 children sitting there behind me, and somehow I need to get to that door and open it and accept the fact that my husband has been killed in combat. So I gather up the courage, start walking towards the door, and the pounding of the knock overshadows the pounding of my heart. And before I would give them a chance to speak, I immediately demanded, "Is he alive?" 2 grimacing and contorted faces stared each other down in somewhat confused state. And they look at me, and I said, "Well, is he alive or is he dead?" One of the men drew up some courage, and he opened his mouth and said, "Well, I beg your pardon, ma'am, but we're Jehovah's Witnesses and we've come to share the good news." So I'm busting out in tears and laughter all at the same time. And I'm like, "You're darn right that's good news. You have no idea how good it is. Now, if you would, from now on, heed the no soliciting sign on the door and kindly leave." I slam the door, slink down to the floor, bawling and crying. And my oldest daughter, she joins me and puts her arm around me. And we sit there sobbing, going through the emotional roller coaster that just took place. As Tom said, my name is Ann Lindholm, and I am an American soldier's wife. And I just want to share with you the view from my eyes and from my children's eyes. So, how are we different? As a soldier's wife, I've been to 4 funerals where taps was played following the 21-gun salute. As a soldier's wife, we face many things. And while our soldiers are the real heroes, what I would like to remind you of today are the families that those soldiers leave behind. So today, we just want to say to our heroes, here's to you. Thanks for a job well done.
It was a dark night, fire burning in a little park, and I had a cameraman shooting, directing a scene in 1996 in Ho Chi Minh City. Ho Chi Minh City used to be called Saigon, but with the fall of the South, it was renamed after their leader, Ho Chi Minh. And at that moment, these gentlemen with long coats took out weapons and surrounded the little group I was with. I was shooting a documentary about the founder of SEAL Team 6, Richard Marcinko, and I was directing Marcinko in the middle of Vietnam with no licenses, no permits, no anything, burning a fire in the middle of a park. And the federales did not like what was going on, to say the least. On that trip, I spent some time at Coronado, filming the activities to the extent we could. But going back even earlier in the 60s, we would always hear about my cousin and whatever he did. He was one of the original members of SEAL Team 2 on the East Coast under President Kennedy. So I've had a lot of involvement with that group of individuals for many years. And when I saw this administration's handling of essentially a secret organization, mishandling it for political purposes, I took to the airwaves once again, they're very powerful, and did a couple of videos. And then adding further injury to insult, when I saw the mishandling of the horrendous tragedy 5 months ago of the helicopter went down with 30-something soldiers, 20 DevGru folks, 20 very highly trained warriors for this country, and the political exploitation of that, I got even angrier, went back to the airwaves. But I also went a little bit north from where I lived to a memorial service for one of the individuals, one of the members of SEAL Team 6, which that's not even the name anymore, but that's what everybody calls it. I didn't know this young guy, but I knew him. I didn't know him, but I knew him. And I sat there with thousands of people in a memorial service. He was a believer in his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And it was a very moving experience. And the other day, putting this together, I found a Facebook page dedicated to this individual. And I wrote a little note. I said to the parents, I'd like you to be our guests at this event. And I got a phone call yesterday from the father of this fallen warrior. And he is our next speaker, the father of one of SEAL Team 6's operators that got shot down in Afghanistan 5 months ago. And earlier today, I had a very difficult moment when I introduced this gentleman to David Beamer. And when I told this gentleman, I'm going to introduce you to David Beamer, he said, Todd, David's son, was Aaron Vaughn, the fallen SEAL, was Aaron Vaughn's hero. And one of the motivating factors for why he went into the military 10 years ago. So in the confines of that little area right there, two men who have experienced what very few have got together, and I had to walk out of the place. So would you please welcome Billy Vaughn, the father of Aaron Vaughn.
Edmund Burke once said, all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Today, I want to talk to you about young men who were unwilling to stand idly by and did all they could, up to dying, for the good of those they loved and the country. I would like to talk about those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, those for whom you and I should live our lives in such a way as to earn the sacrifice that they've made. These are the men of which George Orwell stated, "People sleep peaceably in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on our behalf. Thank God for those men. These are men who don't have time to occupy Wall Street or outside because they are busy occupying places far away where most of us would never go unless we were bound and dragged. They volunteer to go there to do violence on evil men so that we don't have to suffer here at home. I want to tell you what else these men have given us. They have given us a platform from which we can serve. They have caused us to attain freedom. We have the freedom to speak, to worship, to do nothing, to choose or lose. You fill in the blank. You see, we have all been given a platform from which we are able to share our views. For you see, they gave all, and we are able to be here today. I have been given this platform on which I am able to speak to you today, first by invitation from Tom, but ultimately by my son Aaron's sacrifice of his life for the family and the country that he loved. Because of him, you will bend your ear to me for a few minutes, and hopefully your mind and heart. But with your bending comes a great responsibility for me to speak to you the truth from this platform built on Aaron's great sacrifice. For you see, now more than ever, I have a greater responsibility to be a better man and a better American because of the platform built on the sacrifice of Aaron. How appalling it would be for me to abuse the sacrifice that he and others have given. Please allow me a moment to tell you about Aaron, who has given so much. He was truly a gift of God, a gift from God. He brought so much happiness to Karen and I. So much joy. He was the first grandchild on both sides of the family. So loved and adored. Aaron came to know Christ at an early age, and he loved and served him faithfully. Aaron was not perfect, but his Savior was and is. He was a boy who had a tender but fearless heart. He was heartbroken when his sister told him the truth about Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. And by the way, Aaron should have never been a SEAL. He tore his ACL when he was in high school. He had wanted to be a SEAL growing up, but after 2 failed surgeries, he gave up on that and went ahead with getting a degree and working in golf course management there in Florida. But after 9/11, Aaron came in on his 21st birthday and told Karen and I that he had to do something, and he had joined the SEAL Challenge program. I told him, I said, son, you'll never make it without an ACL. He said, ask his mom, do I tell him I don't have an ACL or not? I said, son, it's going to have to be your choice. They didn't find out. He trained and trained, and he made it to SEAL Team 1. And when he trained for DevGru, and when they tested him, they discovered that his ACL had failed. But because of what he had already accomplished, they went ahead and accepted him into DevGru. The last addition to our family came this past June when Karen and I were blessed with another granddaughter, Chamberlain. She is Aaron and Kimberly's youngest child. Our family was growing and loving each other, and we were so happy. Then on a Saturday morning 5 months ago, our entire family awoke to the news that Aaron had lost his life fighting for all of us. For the first time, mine and Karen's family had decreased in number. We all experienced pain and sadness like none we've ever known. All the above mentioned families, members' lives have been changed for the rest of our days here on earth. We will never be the same as a family or as individuals. We must now live in such a way to earn the sacrifice Aaron and countless others have made. Because of Aaron and others, your life is also different today. There are many present who have also sacrificed much. The rest of us must strive to earn the sacrifice as we live our lives. Let me tell you a true story. August 5th, 2011 fell on a Friday. For most in our country, it was a normal Friday. Last work day of the week, looking forward to the weekend, time off, enjoying family or friends. All of us were going about our life in a normal way. But at about 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, a group of rough, fearless men, the best of the best that America has, not that the world has to offer, were in the midst of a very different day. This group was getting ready for their night's work. For you see, in the place they were living and working, it was already Friday evening. These men's duty, responsibility, and desire was to go out and visit violence on extremely evil men who seek to destroy all that the fearless, rough men loved and left behind. These American heroes went out, climbed into their ride, and flew off to work. Just before their ride was about to drop them off at their work site, I believe Providence intervened. It was about 5:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, August 5th, here at home. But 2:39 a.m., August 6th, where they worked, about 7,000 miles away from those they loved, in the Tangi River Valley, Wardak Province of Afghanistan. 2 RPGs were fired out of the dark, into the dark, toward a chopper delivering these men for work. The first one missed, but the second one made contact in a 1 in a million shot. The RPG hit a rotor blade on the aft pylon of the chopper. The CH-47 Chinook tore itself apart almost immediately, ending the lives of the 30 rough, fearless men on board. But you see, the men did not lose that night, for those men loved their country and those they left behind more than they feared the death that lay in their path. They had already done immeasurable damage to the enemy before this last mission. You may say they did not complete their mission, but I would argue they did. 2 Timothy 4:7 says, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." These men finished well. For had they not died that night, you and I would have never known the story of Extortion 17 and the 30 rough, fearless Americans who gave their life's blood to buy our freedom. They probably did not know, and you and I certainly did not know, that Extortion 17's real mission that night may have been to wake a sleeping nation at risk in an evil world. So now I ask you, what will you do to earn the sacrifice of the men of Extortion 17? Our freedom is not free. It was first bought by Christ's blood and then purchased over and over again by the blood of patriots who love freedom more than life. My freedom has once again been bought by blood. This time by the blood of my son Aaron and the other men. So I ask you again, what will we do to earn their sacrifice? We must know the truth about our freedom and sound the alarm to those around us. Maybe you have a public platform. If so, use it. If you don't, influence and inform your family and circle of friends. Freedom is too precious to sit idly by. Our republic is under attack from an enemy who is extremely patient and even more evil, while most of our countrymen refuse to even believe we are at war. That's just the way radical Islam wants us to be. If you could ask the men of Extortion 17 how evil and depraved this enemy is, they would certainly tell you what they've witnessed. An enemy who hates our God all who worship Him, and any who live the lifestyle we do. We do not believe in the same God, as many will tell you. We must become informed. We must do our part. We must live a life that is pleasing to our Lord and that earns the sacrifice of those who have given all for us in our republic. As I leave you today, I'd like to leave you with 3 thoughts. 1, freedom is a precious treasure. Do not take it for granted. 2, it has been attained for us by others. It is our responsibility to keep. 3, what will I do to fulfill my personal responsibility for the continued existence of freedom? Thank you, and may God keep you.
Today, we have a kind of a split program with me. I'll tell you a little bit about Operation Troop Aid, and then we're going to go back over to the back, and we have 50 care packages, about $3,000 worth of care package products that we're going to be putting together to send over to the troops.
We are
Look here.
with Mark Woods doing Operation Troop Aid. What do I do, Mark?
Grab a green bag,
Okay, we're on camera now. Here we
one
go.
bag,
goes
one
there,
jerky, and one CD, and then roll it up.
That is going to
We're sending it to a Florida-based unit out of Afghanistan. Tanya's going to be getting me the address.
Florida-based unit out of Afghanistan, and this stuff will be there how long from today?
Longest I've ever seen is 2 weeks.
2 weeks. The guys will be enjoying this stuff.
Absolutely.
Tremendous. Little music, little beef jerky, little toothpaste after the beef jerky, and they're in business. Cool. Very cool.
Like the same thing with the troops colonel.
Hey guys, stay safe, keep your heads up, watch your back, and hope you appreciate these little care packages. I enjoyed receiving mine when I was in Afghanistan. So do your best and come home safe.
Mr. Beamer said, touches my heart, home of the free, home of the brave, not of the timid. Go men.
Same thing to the troops?
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to all of you for being here. My name is Jerry Boykin. Thank you. And why do we fight? We fight because we believe in that Constitution. We believe in American exceptionalism. John Kennedy said, "You'll know the character of a nation by the way it treats its veterans." A very bold and a very true statement. I honor all of you veterans here today. I honor all of you who may still be serving. For those of you who may be watching or will see this later, I honor you. We're all here to honor you today. More importantly, to say thanks. There's a very famous story that all of you are aware of. When Ben Franklin walked out in the streets of Philadelphia in the summer of 1787, and a woman came up and said, "Tell me, Mr. Franklin, what kind of government have you given us?" And he said, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." You ever think about what he was saying? A republic if you can keep it. He was saying you're going to have to fight for it. We're giving it to you in this document here. We won the revolution. But we're going to be challenged. For as long as this nation exists, we'll be challenged. And our young men and women will have to rise to the occasion to support and defend this Constitution, to fight, and in some cases to die for it. Why do we serve? Because we believe those founding fathers gave us something that is more precious than life itself. And it does require the sacrifice and the blood of our citizens to defend it. This nation was built through their blood and through their sacrifice. It has been preserved through their blood and through their sacrifice because they do believe. They believe deeply in their souls, in their hearts. They believe in who we are as a nation. That flag means something. To the man and woman that serves, it means something. It's not a piece of cloth. It's a symbol of who we are. It's to be handled with care. It's to be handled with respect and dignity. Young men and women from America have stepped forward at every turn to defend this nation and to support our allies. in those who can't defend themselves, as was said earlier, and to promulgate this dream of liberty that our founding fathers had when they declared their independence from King George and the Crown of England. Every challenge to our liberty has been met by the young men and women in America. You know, they've served throughout our history, and every time there's been a crisis, they've stepped forward. Just think about watch some of the videos of the young men and women gathering at the recruiting stations after Pearl Harbor. Millions of them at the recruiting stations there to avenge the brutality and the terrible attack on Pearl Harbor. And after 9/11, we saw the same thing again as young men and women began to go to the recruiting station, give up their careers, give up their lives, sacrifice for this nation. When I was commanding the Special Warfare Center at Fort Bragg and training all the Special Forces, a young man walked across the stage graduating one day, and I asked each man, "What's your background?" And the young man said to me, he said, "I'm a former Wall Street broker." I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I stood in my office and I watched those towers fall. And when the dust finally settled, I got on my cell phone. I called my wife and I said, I'm enlisting in the Army. I want to serve. I want to avenge this attack." And another young man that came across the stage, it was clearly not a native-born American, and I said to him, "Tell me your story." And he said, "I am from the nation of Sudan." He said, "I came here 5 years ago." And he said, "This is my country now. I will avenge the attack of 9/11. Sadly, he was later killed in Iraq in one of the Special Forces groups. Listen, I want to say to all of you, be proud to be an American. Don't apologize for me. I'm proud to be an American. You know, when you look at the history of this nation, look, just think of the things that we've done. In World War I, we liberated an entire continent. In World War II, we liberated 2 continents. Think of what Europe would be today. Think of what Asia would be today, were it not for the sacrifice of millions of young men and women from America. We changed the world. You know, on D-Day, as the men and women of the American forces came across those shores in France, and you see all the old videos, you see the people rejoicing with glee. But what was it? Was it the tanks? Was it the M1s? Was it the artillery? No, you know what it was that made those people rejoice? It was the American flag. It was that flag because that flag meant something to them. It meant the power, the might, the character of America was there. And in the summer of 1950, as Task Force Smith began to unload at the port of Pusan to try and save a nation that had been pushed all the way from the DMZ to what we know as the Pusan perimeter, a nation that was about to be destroyed, about to be taken over by the communist forces of North Korea. And those soldiers started getting off those ships. What brought those people in Korea hope was that American flag. I'm proud to be an American. We all need to be proud to be American. And look at our forces in Vietnam. You know, all we see from the media is the worst. But the reality is, you talk to those men that served there, that went into those villages, that ran the Viet Cong out and ridded them of the brutality of the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese. You know, I will tell you this. I'm in airports every week. I fly all over the country speaking to audiences in different places, primarily in churches. But it thrills me to walk in an airport and see a young man or a woman walking through that airport in uniform, And to see someone walk up to them that obviously doesn't know them but says, thanks for your service. Thanks for serving our country. And those young soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, they beam with pride. You know why America's doing that? America's doing that because of the way we treated the Vietnam veterans. Because it was a terrible embarrassment to this country, and we learned from it. And today, whether they agree with the war or not, Americans show respect to our young veterans. For all of you Vietnam veterans, our generation today is riding on your shoulders. You paid a hard, heavy price, but our veterans today are benefiting from it. You know, one of my great memories, talking about being proud to be an American, the 24th of October, 1983, we went into the island of Grenada to liberate that island from the Cubans and the communists. We went into that island at the direction of a great president, Ronald Reagan, to rescue 1,000 American medical students and to return that island to the rightful rulers, governors, the people that had been elected. As we went in on our target, I was going in on a target called Richmond Hill Prison. And as we came in on the target, the skies erupted with tracers, and all of a sudden our helicopters were taking hits, and I was hit. Boom, boom, I was hit, and I knew I was hit bad. In fact, I thought they shot my arm off. I'd been hit in the side of the chest and right up through my armpit. I was in bad shape. It was questionable. It was touch and go as to whether I was even going to make it. And I wound up, after a surgery aboard a carrier, I wound up back in the hospital at Fort Bragg, and by that time they said, you're going to live, but you'll never use your arm again. And my response to them was, you just do the best you can. God will take care of the rest of it. But as I laid there thinking, God, why? Was this worth it for this little island in the Caribbean? 350,000 people. Was it worth it? Was it worth this price? I was in terrible pain. I had a gaping hole in the side of my chest. My armpit was shot out. My arm was useless. They wanted to take it off. And as I was laying in the hospital, CNN went around and found this old snaggle-toothed woman there on the island of Grenada. She had one tooth, and I remember it so well, and I was watching CNN, and they said, what do you have to say about the American invasion? And obviously they were trying to prompt her to say something negative. And she smiled with that one tooth, and she looked right in the camera, and she said, God bless Ronald Reagan and God bless America. I said, Lord, I get it. I don't need anything else. What we did was right. It was right. And I'm proud. Christmas Eve, 1989, as we went into Panama and took that beautiful country away from an evil man named Manuel Noriega. We had Noriega hemmed up at the Vatican Embassy, the Nunciatura. And I remember we swooped in, surrounded the Nunciatura, and then we began to build a perimeter around. And as I walked the perimeter on Christmas Eve of 1989, Panamanians were coming up to me with tears in their eyes. They were saying, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, America, for giving us our country back. You know what? Probably the best Christmas I ever had, because I felt appreciated. I was proud to be an American. You know, if you go back and watch some of the news footage from Desert Storm, Desert Shield, as those tanks rolled into Kuwait City, into a nation that had been brutalized, raped, pillaged, burned by the brutal forces of Saddam Hussein, and all of a sudden, those tanks came rolling into Kuwait City at the end of February. And the people were jumping in the streets and rejoicing because the flags flying on those tanks and armored personnel carriers were the American flag. And you know, you need to stop and think about the fact that in Iraq and Afghanistan, we have liberated over 50 million people from the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, from the brutality. What they do with their new freedom is up to them. But our young men and women have done their job. They've done their job. And now it's up to those that have been set free. But you know what really bothers me today? Americans are losing their pride. They're losing their pride. They're losing their understanding of American exceptionalism. I was doing a radio program with Tom Tancredo. Sounds almost like Tom Trento, doesn't it? Every time I'm with him, I get in trouble. So, Tom Tancredo, former member of Congress, ran for president in 2008. He now runs a radio program out in Denver, Colorado. And Tom Tancredo was telling this story on the radio program that we were doing. And he said he went into a high school there in Columbine, Colorado. Remember, that's where the shooting was with Dylan Klebold, this guy named Harris. They built a new high school, and he went in to cut the ribbon on this new high school. And he said when he cut the ribbon, he took all the student body and the faculty into the auditorium, and they sat down, and he said, "How many of you are proud of this new school?" He said, "This was the most beautiful school. It had the latest technology." He said, "Never seen anything like it." "How many of you are proud of this new school?" "Oh, they just went wild." "How many of you are proud of your faculty?" "Oh, they just went wild." "How many of you are proud of your football team?" "Oh, my goodness, they were hooting and hollering." They only won 2 games the year before, but they were proud of their football team. And Tancredo said, then I said, "How many of you are proud of America?" He said you could have heard a pin drop. No, but not even the faculty said anything. He coached them. Come on, some of you must be proud of your country. You got to be proud of America. Finally, one student raised his hand, and another one, and then another one, another one. And a couple of faculty. So when he got through, there were about 12 to 15 students and 3 faculty that raised their hands and said, yeah, they were proud of America. Does that grieve you the way it grieves me? When these men and women have paid such a price for this country, they have served because they believe in America, but we're losing our identity in this nation. We're losing our identity. We're losing our pride in America because we're losing our identity. Who we are, what we've done, what this Constitution means, the price that was paid for our Constitution. We're losing it. And I am very distressed over it. There's no focus on the Constitution today. There's no focus in our schools today on the Constitution of the United States. That document, folks, that we swore to support and defend. There's no focus on that Constitution today. And we need to get back to an understanding of what that Constitution is. I carry that Constitution with me. I left it in my bag out in the car. I carry the Constitution with me. I normally have it in my pocket here, but I changed coats. I read it on the airplanes, unlike most of the members of Congress. I read the Constitution. No, they don't. And then I read books to try and understand what it means. And those things that I have trouble with, that I struggle with, I study those things to try and understand. I just read a book recently called The Politically Incorrect Guide to the Constitution, which talks about how the original intent of our founding fathers has been so skewed, primarily by our Supreme Court, activist judges across the nation. But there's one group that still respects the flag and honors the Constitution. And that's the men and women that have invested in it. That's the men and women that have served this nation. That's the people we're here today to recognize, to thank, and to show our respect for. You know what? I've never been so angry with my government as when the Department of Homeland Security sent a memorandum out to law enforcement all over America. How many of you read that memorandum? How many of you know about that memorandum? Saying the future threats to America the future threats to America were right-wing Christian groups, pro-life groups, Second Amendment groups, and returning veterans. They got me in all 4 categories. I'll tell you. It's terrible. It's terrible. Those young men and women coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan are identified as potential future threats to America. You know what that memorandum never said? Islamic terrorist. Never identified them as being a future threat. I'm still angry over it, and it may show in the way I'm reacting right now, but I'm angry over that memorandum because those young men and women have made an investment in America. They've served this nation, and they love the Constitution, and they believe in American exceptionalism. I will tell you that my great hope for America is 2 things. One is that the Christian church will wake up and rise up and become a mighty army. But my second hope is that these young men and women that are coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan today that have invested in this country, that know that they've paid a price, they've made a sacrifice, that they will move into positions of leadership. That's why Alan West is such a hero to me. Here's a lieutenant colonel, an Army lieutenant colonel that made a tremendous sacrifice. He paid a tremendous price. He was shamed by the Army, but it didn't cause him to put his head down. He kept his head high. And he said, I swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and I will continue serving. And when he didn't make it the first time, he tried it again. That man will go places in America because he has a deep love for the Constitution of the United States. Deep in his soul, deep in his spirit, he loves this country. And you wouldn't believe how much guff he takes from different groups around America because he's a conservative, first of all, because he's a black conservative to secondly. But he is a man that swore to support and defend the Constitution, and he will do that. You will see more of Alan West. We're great nations because our veterans, those who've served, have given us the right to be a great nation. I'm going to finish this up because I don't know how much time I'm supposed to have, but I'm going to finish it up with this. In April of 2010, I went to Arlington National Cemetery. And as I got to the cemetery there was a large gathering of people, and the people that were gathering there were people that I knew. They were people that 30 years before had gone into a remote part of Iran, just outside of Tehran, in an effort to rescue 52 Americans that had been held by that were being held by the followers of the Ayatollah Khomeini. You know it as Operation Eagle Claw, where we went in and tried to rescue our fellow Americans, and about 100 miles from Tehran, we failed in that attempt as a C-130 and a RH-53 helicopter collided on the desert floor, and 8 Americans died there that night. And it's like yesterday in my memory. I see that fire in the desert. I see men running across the desert. But as we gathered there for the 30th anniversary of that event, we had all the rescue force sitting over here, and we had the former hostages sitting over here, and many of them had returned, and a great deal of the rescue force had come back for this 30-year reunion. I was sitting up on the platform. I was one of the speakers, and as I got up and spoke, I finished and I walked back to my seat, and as I walked back, I stopped at the memorial. There is a common grave that all 8 of these men are buried in. It was a common grave, and I just stopped for a moment. And I said, why, God? Why did they die? What did they die for? We didn't bring those hostages home. What did they die for? And then the answer came to me. And the answer was they died for something that was more important than life itself. They died for America. They died for the nation. You see, that piece of terrain that embassy sat on by international law, that's America. That's sovereign U.S. territory by international law. And those 52 hostages in there were their fellow citizens. And they made a commitment to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And they knew that those 52 people expected them to come. They died for something that was more important than life itself. And that was this nation. We all have to sacrifice now. We have to honor our veterans. We have to show them that we're proud to be Americans. And we have to find our legs and our boldness. We need to pray for our veterans. We need to pray for our nation. We need to pray for the leaders of this nation. I do not agree with our president on anything, but I pray for him every day because he is our president, and we elected him, and we are a constitutional republic. And we must pray for the leadership of this nation. But we must stand for our veterans. We must honor them. We must show them the respect that they are due for the sacrifice that they have made. I've enjoyed being with you. God bless you.
Couple of housekeeping items, but General, I have one question for you that we asked David Beamer a bit earlier, and I'll ask that, and then we'll get into the other items. Where were you on 9/11, and what happened? What was your immediate response?
I was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. My immediate response was, they finally did it. Because I was part of the original cadre of the Delta Force when it was created in 1978. And remember, the Delta Force was created because of the growing concern about Islamic terrorism. I had been watching the growth of terrorist networks, particularly Al-Qaeda. I tracked all of the things that Al-Qaeda was doing, and on 9/11, my first instinct was, well, they finally did it. I knew it was Al-Qaeda immediately.
And, well, thank you very much again. Thanks a lot.
I am so humbled, and I'm so honored to be among such a group of patriots. And really, this is a loving group. It's a loving group. I stand in front of a lot of audiences, and I can feel the love of one another, the love of this great nation, the love for our military. We need to have a positive message, not a negative message. And I want to give you a positive message, as others have given a positive message about this nation, but especially about our men and women who have served in our military, their families and their orphan children. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your attention. May God bless you. May God bless our military, and may God continue to bless this great nation.
Please warmly welcome Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Myers.
Because why we fight is, yes, about geopolitics and national security, but at the soldier-to-soldier level, it's about being part of a team and trying to embody, even if imperfectly, the Army values. You know, being there when it counts. You know, military service is about team. It's about something bigger than yourself, and as you have or will witness today, it's about sacrifice, particularly when we're joined by some of our wounded warriors. It's about remembering the sacrifice of others too and honoring their memory and completing the mission. But the wounded warriors that you see and the one I think we'll meet this afternoon have really gave to you and have gave to me, gave to the Army and this country everything just short of their lives. And we owe them a debt that cannot cease. The practitioners of Islamic Jihad exist for the purposes of establishing a higher law than our Constitution, Islamic law. That is the definition of the enemy.
So, welcome warmly to our abode here, Colonel Ben Knisley, a true American hero.
This is a momentous day honoring our veterans, and as you will hear several times today, almost 2.5 million men and women have deployed to combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, our longest war that our nation has been in. A drawdown of forces has begun, and today, standing on the steps of this Capitol building, we are officially welcoming home those men and women who have sacrificed a big piece of their lives for us all. The face of America is the face of our military veterans. We should never forget. All of us should take a moment to thank a vet every chance we get. Gatherings and meetings like this one are so vital and so important in keeping alive the memory and respect we owe all these great patriots. And I would note that such parades are not just for the old gray guys like General Boykin, myself, Colonel Swire. As a nation, we're coming off our longest wars, as you know. As the mission comes to a close, a lot of Johnnies and Janes are going to come marching home. This is exactly what we are about here today.
I was in New York on 9/11. I witnessed it. I was in a meeting, and at 8:46 in a board meeting, someone came in and said, quote, a small plane had hit one of the towers. And I said, it looks to me as if Muslim terrorists had hit the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers. And he said, that's impossible. I'm from Egypt. A Muslim would never do that. Our country is based on sovereignty of the people. The people elect officials to pass laws, to produce constitutions and laws. That is not what Islam is all about. It is the ineffable word of their God, Allah and His Prophet. If you cross that, you are dead. So I say to you that this day is not unlike St. Crispin's Day. We band of brothers have gathered together to educate you and to pay testimony to the valor, courage, and defenders of freedom. Without them, we as a nation would not survive. Thank you.
My work has taken me to many places around the world, and some of those places are where the citizens live in fear of their military. And I thank God that I live in a country where the citizens can have faith and trust in the armed forces that guard our nation. Now, when disaster strikes this world and people are homeless, hungry, and injured, there's a common phrase that's uttered, and it's this: hold on, the Americans will be coming. And that's right. This nation has done more good for more people around the world than all other nations combined. And usually the first sign of rescue is a fleet of American military helicopters loaded with supplies. Now, our military is often dispatched to areas devastated by natural disasters. Sometimes it's to depose a vicious dictator. Sometimes it is to stop genocide. And everywhere the United States military lands, the people run to them rather than away from them. And that alone tells you about the quality of our men and women in uniform. There are some battles that our military can't fight, some battles that we need to fight for them. Now, my friend, Mr. Trento, made it clear that this gathering is not to be a day of partisan politics, and I'm not going to get partisan, but I am going to take a swipe at the politically correct nonsense that hinders the effectiveness of our troops and their morale. Our troops are locked in battle against a vicious enemy, and those who take action to defend themselves and complete their mission should not have to worry about being prosecuted and jailed for violating some PC rule of etiquette. Rules of engagement should have one overriding purpose, and that is to make sure our troops come home alive, not to avoid hurting the feelings of some religious zealots. It'll be a great day when our troops are no longer in any combat theater, and I pray that that day will come very soon and that we can enjoy a refreshing time of peace. So thank you to all the veterans who are serving, those who have served throughout the years. Thank you for letting me speak my heart. God bless our troops, and God bless America again.
So what I'd like to do in my time here is lift up our military and our families of those who are sacrificing and those who are still here fighting in a different way on a different front.
And they ended up with only 2,500 troops. In 1776, George Washington had this brilliant idea that on Christmas morning he would walk 9 miles to Trenton, go across a icy river in a snowstorm in the middle of the night. It was at that point where 2,500 American soldiers, 1/3 of them had to actually wrap burlap bags around their feet because there were no boots for them. But they were able to make that trip to Trenton, capture 800 professional German soldiers, and reestablish the revolution. As many of you know, the password for that night was victory or death. And in our culture right now, that needs to be our password. And we leave here today with that note, victory or death. Thank you, and thank you, Tom.
Today we are here to honor some of the brightest and most courageous citizens America has to offer, the men and women of the United States military. As the Admiral's Ombudsman, there were several times when I was tasked with taking the visit, and that is something that the military life threads, is the visit. What that does is it marks the end of our hopes and dreams that our hearts embrace, and to go on one of those visits is indeed heartbreaking. In closing, I would encourage you, whenever you encounter an active duty member of our troops or a veteran, to take the time to thank them for the safety and freedom that you enjoy. And remember to include their families. We are the few. We are the proud, the brave. We are the American military family. God bless our troops, and God bless America.
Billy Tucker.
But I got to tell you guys, I've been really nervous. I'm never really nervous speaking in front of a crowd. But this is a humbling experience today because I'm just a person. I don't have any great military stories. You know, there are a lot of very impressionable. I mean, you guys, I just love you so much for what you do for the military and what they do.
Colonel Nicely, that wrote this introduction, uses the first person. I first met William 6 months ago. As hard as I try, he humbly won't accept my offer of hero title. But ladies and gentlemen, he's every bit that and one hell of a proud American. He and other veterans like him are precisely the reason why we're here today. Please join in welcoming Sergeant Castillo.
First of all, it's an honor to be here. standing before you and speaking a little bit about myself and the things that we're going through. I apologize for not being here earlier. Car broke down, went back to Orlando, but either way, I'm here now, so let's make it count. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm not sure what I was told, but I was actually born in South America, in Colombia. I came to the United States, to New York, when I was 3 years old. And I've had the opportunity to go back and forth to my country and other countries, and I've had the privilege to understand and know the opportunity that this land presents to us. That's the reason I joined. I was living in New York. I was working for Subway. I was a Subway artist. And 9/11 happened. I had just had my 2 twin girls. That same day I went home and I said, my God, I'm a strong male. I'm a citizen of this country. I need to do something. So I joined the day right after 9/11. For me, that was the best decision I could ever make. Wearing that uniform, representing that flag, whether I was Spanish, American, Indian, Puerto Rican, Colombian, it didn't matter. I was American. And it was a great honor to wear the uniform for 8 years. I did 2 deployments. My second deployment, unfortunately, I had to go and clear an area for some helicopters to land to pick up some Marines. We did what we had to do, but on the way out, IED was activated underneath my truck. It blew me out of the truck. Through the grace of God, I happened to be okay. I was trying to make my way back to the vehicle. I got hit 5 times for 5 rounds. And as I was pulling out my driver, an RPG hit the truck on the other side, killed everybody in the truck and left me. Well, I woke up in the U.S. approximately 2 weeks later. First person I saw was my mother, God bless her heart. And I was very fortunate. I already had done 6 years in the military. So the foundation, the discipline, the integrity, all that stuff was very strong within me. But I started to notice a pattern. Some of these kids that are there are 19 years old. They're 20 years old. They got six months in the military, first deployment. So that foundation, that strength is still not there for them the way it was for me. And I'm starting to see the injuries. Now, I have a friend, his name is Brendan Morocco. We built him a beautiful house in Staten Island. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But he's the first quadruple amputee to survive. He was 19 years old. He's missing both arms, both legs. This kid served this country for whether it was the education, for it to serve. At the end of the day, he was wearing that flag out there and he represented it. He represented our country. So what's to become of his life now that he's back home? Yes, he's happy he served. He did it with honor, integrity. He did an outstanding job. But now what can we offer him? So me and a couple other guys, we started thinking, well, what can we do? I was an NCO. I was a non-commissioned officer, so it's my responsibility to help those that are in the younger ranks that got hurt early in the military stages. So we started coming up with ideas, and fortunately we ran into an organization called Building Homes for Heroes, which we built him a beautiful home because we wanted to make him independent and then empower him, give him a new mission, a new statement, give him that foundation, why he started to serve his country in the beginning, because he believed in it. So now that he's here, we need to give him a new mission, empower him again as a soldier, whether he's missing 2 arms or 2 legs. So that's what we started to do. And I started to see a mental therapy going on with myself after losing all my men of still serving my country. No, I don't wear the uniform. I don't pick up the weapon. I don't do all that cool ninja stuff I used to do. But I'm back here in the United States. I can still serve my country. I still believe in everything it stands for. And I wasn't even born here. And to me, that's a plus in my eyes, because I get to compare the opportunities that I have here, my kids have here, everybody has here, compared to other places.
And Mark Woods, a vet, runs Operation Troop Aid, like one of those packages.
Roger.
I think...
I'm going to go ahead and give you this one. We packed it today. It's yours to take home. And
thank you, boss. Thank you for everything you're doing.
And one other thing I don't know the answer to, so I'm going to ask him right here. The gentleman that the truck, was that his personal truck? That
Roger, yeah.
Do y'all have any idea what happened to it?
No, honestly we don't.
Okay.
He got it towed back, but he's
okay. Well, send me the bill and I'm paying for it. Okay.
Oh well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You were shot 5 times. Do you remember the incident?
Yes, sir.
Can you walk us through it?
Yes. So after we cleared this area, there was a one road in, one road out, which raises a lot of flags for us. It was a 5-truck convoy. I was the second truck. Next thing you know, I'm waking up in the bushes. I'm sort of checking myself.
Now, up to that point, had you been hit by or seen an IED explode?
Yes, numerous times. So I don't want to say it wasn't really a big deal, but I mean it was. But you know, I checked myself. We do our check if everything's still moving and working. You know, I got up. I saw my truck was upside down. It was on fire. Which tried to make my way back to the truck. I didn't have my M4 on me, our primary weapon. It was hanging in the truck. But I had a 9mm. Some guy that really couldn't shoot was trying to shoot at me. And, you know, I kept getting hit. You know, first one got on the top of the head. I had a Kevlar, so nothing really penetrated the brain. Just went through the cranium a little bit. Second was in the 2 in the chest, but I had plate on. You know, no big deal. I took one on the right leg. Still moving, got to the truck. One ricocheted off the truck, went through my chin, hit me on the top of the jaw. That one knocked me down. I got back up. It was just adrenaline rush. I'm not made of iron. It's just adrenaline, and I was going back for my men. So I grabbed my soldier. I was trying to pull him out. I saw a flash of light on the other side. I knew what that was. That was an RPG. Pretty much covered my face. Something hit my leg. I realized my leg was gone, and I called it quits at that time and woke up in the U.S. a couple of weeks later. So.
Heroic, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Visit our sponsors, particularly this guy right here, Budweiser, the king of beers. These are the different groups that help promote the work. Some gave a little bit of money. The Budweiser folks, retired Marine colonel who runs a Budweiser distributor in Sarasota, donated all the banners we have, thousands of dollars worth of banners. So we're thankful to that. And then the different organizations, charitable organizations, pick up the material about the military charities, please, and learn about these folks. But we wanted to give a little something to our participants, a base with a little inscription about today, and then our logo, sort of the globe, the United West, a wonderful event. We have our little globes for you from the United West. Savannah Engraving, one of our sponsors, donated these globes to us, and they're really very, very nice. That's right, Savannah Engraving. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, you want a photo? Oh, okay, here we go. Get this thing out of here.